now we're good. Okay, so I already have met you. I know what you guys do. So very nice that you're joining me today. Originally, this webinar was going to be in Dutch. So if you're watching the recording, you're going like, why is this in English? This is because we had some people signing up who wants to have it in English. Obviously, if any of this is going too fast or too complicated in English, let me know and I'll happily explain things to you in Dutch. So today's topic is we're going to be talking about the subsidies that you can use to really develop, keep and find the right team. There's a round of this coming up and I get a lot of questions about it. So we thought we'd summarize it in this webinar. And then, you know, you can always watch it back and listen to the explanation. So who am I? Why am I presenting this? So my name is Lisanne Jacobs. I'm the founder of Brilliant Work. I'll tell you a bit more about Brilliant Work in a minute. I'm a business coach and I've been using subsidies for my coaching engagements for the last 14 years, I guess. So I started coaching 15 years ago, and about a year in, I started to actually discover there were lots of subsidies out there to help you as an entrepreneur, as a management team. And I realized that a lot of people were not aware these subsidies existed. I might sound British, but I am Dutch. I live in Holland, in Oosterbeek, near Arnhem. But I used to live in the UK, which is why I sound like this. Now, normally I do actually give a number of webinars and workshops which tend to give you more actual content on, for example, how to develop your team or how to have sales meetings or how to run other parts of your business. And then at the end, I tell a little bit about subsidies. Today, I'm going to be turning it around completely. So today is very much about the subsidy itself. And what do you get with the subsidy? How do you apply for it? And what's the coaching and training and consultancy that you get with this subsidy? So, Brilliant Work. We are, as I said, a coaching and consultancy business. There's a team of 17 by now, so it's really developed in the last 9 years since we started. And all of our colleagues are, like me, very experienced in their field. So we have a number of generalists who can help you with business strategy, business growth, and we have a number of specialists. And our expertise run from, like I said, business strategy, sales, marketing, exports, HR, and leadership, and scaling up your processes, scaling up your finances. Now, that might sound like a lot. And why are we doing all of this? There are a number of companies out there that just focus on HR and leadership. I think a business needs to be looked at from all angles. You need to see all round, where's your business going? What do you need to develop it? And therefore, it's good to have a team of different coaches who can help guide you along the way. I'm very glad to be able to say that we've already been named the best business coaching company for small to medium-sized enterprises 5 times running. I hear a slight echo. I don't know. Can you guys hear an echo as well?
A little bit. I might switch off my microphone. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, that would probably do the trick. Okay. Either that or I have to turn down my volume a little bit. See if
Are you still getting an echo?
I think this is better. I've turned down my volume a bit as well. Okay.
I can turn off my mic I'll turn off my mic for now as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So we use 15 different subsidies for our coaching engagements, but the one I wanted to talk about today, or the ones I wanted to talk about today, are really around developing your team, because that is what I see as the biggest bottleneck for companies between 2 and 250 staff. So you've got the sole traders who mostly worry about getting turnover, getting the money in, but anyone above that really focuses on their team. And it's hard to get people in, to get people to come to work for you, to train them up, to make sure they're working the way they're supposed to be working, so you can actually go ahead and scale up your company and have the kind of smooth running company in terms of turnover, profits, happy clients, happy team, you happy as an entrepreneur or a manager within the company, and just it being smooth sailing. So, you know, the company that you want, the ideal company.
Lisanne,
Now, One of the
Lisa,
subsidies that we use for this.
Somebody's
Yeah?
waiting in the meeting
Oh.
room.
Okay, let me just hang on. Yeah, there's Oleg. Okay. Welcome, Oleg. The main subsidy I wanted to focus on today is called SLIM. And it's a subsidy that runs up to €24,999. Now, I know that sounds like maybe a slightly weird amount because usually they're rounder amounts for subsidies. But any subsidy under €25,000 doesn't need any reporting at the end, which is why they dropped the subsidy amount by exactly €1. Now, this is a subsidy that any company anywhere in Holland can use. It doesn't matter if you are an eenmanszaak, a VOF, a BV, you can use this. There are also some regional subsidies that we can use. If for whatever reason SLIM is not good for you and you'll hear about the specifics of SLIM, or we think this is a better option for you, or you've used it before, you can't use it again, then, for example, in amongst others, Gelderland and Flevoland, there are a number of regional subsidies that we can use to help you grow your company and develop your team. Now, SLIM is a great subsidy, not only because it's a very good amount of money that you get, but also because of the level of subsidy. Now, officially, it's only 60%, but there's a 15% extra surcharge, a 15% extra subsidy that you get for costs, for travel costs, for hiring an office space, for whatever. And we can also include your own hours as being subsidized when you're with us in a coaching engagement covered by SLIM, which is why on the SLIM website, you will see that it's 60%, but we can effectively get it to 90% for companies that only have one manager or a very small team, and 100% subsidy if you have at least 2 managers or sort of a bigger team, because we can write more of your own internal hours into the project. One thing that is important to know, this is not working capital. So it's not €25,000 you can just spend on whatever you want, on photocopiers or a new car. It is for having us help you with your team and developing your team and developing your company. And I'll tell you in a little bit about what the application process is, but there is a lottery in there. Now, why is there a lottery? Because this is a very popular subsidy. So there are more people that apply for it than there is money. It's not necessarily a problem in the sense that if you don't get a good lottery number, and a good lottery number is a low number. So, for example, the number 3 or 5 or 10 or even 200 would be a low lottery number. If you get lottery number 3,000, that would be a bad lottery number. But you can always apply again another 6 months later again, and it doesn't matter if you've got a bad lottery number last time. The lottery number is not based on the quality of your application or the application date. It is pure luck. That's it. So what is actually kind of the only criteria to be able to apply for the SLIM is you must either already have staff or really want to scale up with staff very soon. And that will make sense when you see what we actually do within this coaching engagement. So what's the timeline for the application? The reason this is important is you can only apply for this SLIM in September or March. You do have the whole month of September or March, but after that, they just close the door and that's it. You have to wait 6 months. About a month later, they do the lottery. You hear what your lottery number is, and you will know if you've got a very good chance of getting the subsidy, whether it's sort of a question mark or whether your lottery number is far too high. Now, I can't tell you what exactly your lottery chances will be this round. The last few rounds, it was around 28%, but it really depends how many people participate, of course. And then if you do get a good lottery number, then you usually get your answers somewhere between November and January. So at the moment, we're starting to get the first approvals of the round of last March as well. If you get approval, you'll get a letter, you get an email with a letter attached that says you've got the approval. You then have 12 months to actually run the program, to run the coaching engagement. and they will immediately give you a 50% advance of the subsidy. So at least that helps pay for half the bills. Now, if you do get approved, we have a kick-off meeting, and obviously we sit down and talk to you about what it is, how you want to spend it exactly. Now, that might sound a bit silly, because if you've agreed to apply for a slim subsidy with us, we've probably already had this conversation. So why would we have it again? The reason we have it again is that in the very best case, there's probably been about 4, 5, 6 months since we had this last conversation that you wanted to apply, and since you're actually getting it, which means that things might have changed within your company. You might have different ambitions, you might have different challenges, people might have joined the company, left the company. So that's why it's important that we have this kickoff meeting to see what it is you want. We explain to you again in detail what it is that you got with this subsidy, what the requirements are, and then we assign the right coaches within our team to help you with this slim project. And what's important to know is a lot of entrepreneurs are very scared of subsidies because they are worried there's a lot of paperwork involved. Now, that's not really the case here. So what we do is we try to take care of all of the paperwork as much as we can. So there are things that we think, did I skip any? No, skip any slides. When we do the application, we do it for you. So there are some things that we can actually do on your behalf. So we can put all of the paperwork in the Ministry of Social Affairs portal, because they're the ones who give out this subsidy. Or if we choose for a local subsidy, we can help you apply for that with the local province. We can obviously put the budget in there. We can put the project plan in there, what it is we're trying to do, why we think your company should get the subsidy. There are some documents that you need to fill in. So things like a power of attorney, for example, that we can apply for the subsidy on your behalf, a declaration that you have no more than 250 staff and no more than 50 million euros turnover, and that you've had no more than 300,000 euros worth of subsidy in the last few years. Now, for most businesses, this is not a problem. If you think it might be, then let us know. But we try to do all the paperwork for you. And if there are any questions, for example, once the ministry's received your paperwork and they have any questions about it, you just send their emails over to us and we will answer them as much as we can. And if we do need any information from you, we will let you know. There used to be a claim at the end after the project where we would have to hand in a lot of documentation with the ministry to demonstrate that the project had taken place. For any new applications, that is not the standard anymore. What will happen is most people will just get the other half of their the money. So you've had 50% in advance, you'll get the rest at the end. And but you might be one of the few people who get like randomly tested. In that case, we will, of course, provide all the paperwork to prove that you followed this project, that you've paid for it, that we've actually done what we were going to do. So, you know, that's all covered. So what do we need from you? Obviously, your time and that of your team, and that can be at the pace that you want. So to give you an example, a lot of the companies that I talk to, they say, well, for example, at the moment, we have 10 staff, but we want to grow to 40 staff. We don't have a real HR policy. We don't have a specific way of developing our team. It's all very ad hoc, and we want to keep growing, but it means we need to get better at sales. We need to get better at marketing. We need to get better at leadership. And then there's people who need specific courses, for example, based on, you know, whatever product or service that you're selling or making, you know, what your business actually does. So we look at all of that and we see, well, how can we help you? So already in this kickoff, we see what are the things that you have covered, what do you know and have in place to make sure that you're growing from that, you know, 10 to 40 staff, and that you're going to develop your team and grow your business. And what are the areas of expertise that we need to add to up your processes, to up the skills in your team, to make sure that the right people are always in the right place within the business and they're recruited and trained on time so you can continue to grow if any humps and bumps along the way. So what we need from that is time from you, or if you have one of your management team or your members of staff, obviously, to make this happen. And our meetings are often 2 hours at a time, but it is flexible. So it can be shorter, it can be longer, it can be at your place of work. Some of it can be done online or remotely, whatever you want. And at the end of a meeting, we always draw out the calendar and we say, when do you want to have your next meeting? So yes, the first step is we set your business goals. Where do you want to be in 1, 2, 3 years time, maybe even longer runway, maybe even 5 years time? Where do you want to be in terms of turnover, members of staff, maybe quality that you want to improve in the business? And then we define what help you need or you want from us. There are some parts within this slim process that we have to do, because if the ministry asks for proof that we've done the project, we need to demonstrate these. So these are some of the following. The business goals is one of them. To write an organizational chart, in Dutch we call an organigram. So what roles are we going to have in the business going forward? Who's going to have responsibility for what? And within each of those roles, what's the function profile and what competencies are needed? And what do I mean by that? In job roles, you often see this person's responsible for X, doing that, so many hours a week, needs this kind of schooling or paperwork to be able to do the role. What we often miss is the competencies. So does this person need to be flexible? Do they need to be self-motivated? Do they need to be detail-oriented? Do they need to have good verbal communication skills or written communication skills? Those can be all competencies that they need, and it also helps you look at your current employees. So what roles are they in at the moment? What ambitions do they have? Do they want to improve upon themselves or stay in the same role or maybe even leave your company? What competencies do they already have or skills, and what skills, experience do they need to continue to grow within the organization? Because if you're going to go from, for example, 10 to 40 staff, you're going to need to have more people with leadership skills, more people with financial knowledge or financial acumen, so they understand how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. You might need more people with project management skills. So what are the skills and competencies that you want to develop? And then you have to see what you actually have to hire externally, because if you're going from 10 to 40 people, you're going to have at least 30 vacancies. And why do I say at least 30? Because there's always some natural turnover in staff, some natural churn, people retiring, moving abroad, just deciding they want to go and do something else. So you're going to have at least, in this case, 30 vacancies. What's your strategy for hiring these people? Are you going to hire them last minute, or are you, for example, going to offer internships so you can attract students and then get them close to your company, and then if they work well, offer them a job, for example? So these are lots of the steps that we look at. By the way, if anyone has any questions so far, just give us a shout.
So far, so good, Lisanne. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Oleg.
Sorry,
So what else do we look at in this project? We look at your development reviews with your staff. So how often do you sit down with your team members, and do you really have a clear protocol, clear documents on how you're going to do performance reviews or development reviews and how you're going to follow up on them? Do you know as a manager how to have a good development review with your staff? Traditionally, I don't know about you guys, but when I had my first appraisals, in Dutch we call them functioneringsgesprekken, or development reviews, which is more an ontwikkelgesprek, it was very top down. So it was, I'm the boss, I'm going to tell you how you're doing, if you're doing well or not. And then you'd come back and say, well, I might want a pay rise or not. Nowadays, it's much more about looking at this joint future. So what's the future of the company? What do we need? And what's the future of this employee? What do they want? And because it's a tight job market, it's very important that you listen very clearly. And to be a good employer anyway, you want to do this. You listen to them. What role do they see themselves in? Do they want to stay in the same role, specialize, move up the ladder? What is it that they want to do? And what support do they need from you? And that is often more than just following a course. It might be doing something else, like having a mentor within the company, for example, or having a peek in other companies to see how they're doing things, or getting different projects they can just try out and see how they're doing. So there might be lots of different ways that you can develop them. So we can train you on how to do this. We have 3 HR specialists within our team who also know about things like, what are appropriate salaries for people, what is a good function profile, what are options for developing people, what can and can't you do in terms of arbeidswetgeving, so HR legislation, what can and can't you do? And also, what do you need to do to ensure that, if, for example, someone falls ill long term, that you don't get all sorts of penalties and fines, that, you are a good employer with a good staff handbook, for example, and everything else that is needed, and then good file keeping on your staff, so you don't get punished for this. Now, obviously, having staff actually is the way to scale up, to grow your business and to have it long term. But you want to do it right, and you want to do it the easy way. So we help you with that. And apart from their skills, you really also want to look at what motivates your staff. If staff are motivated, if they like their job, then you can develop them. If they don't like where they're working, they'll just leave. So this motivation is really important. We can come in as well, either one-to-ones or with team trainings, where it can be fun, team day stuff, or it can be teaching people specific skills or specific behaviors, so things like time management or leadership or sales skills, etc. So the end goal in any slim engagement for us is that you have clear company goals, a clear plan of action of how you're going to achieve those goals, and a team of enough and the right people with the right skills, the right motivation, the right experience to get that job done, so you can keep moving on with your business. So yeah, I kind of already skipped, jumped the gun a little bit earlier on this. So how does the application work? So we try to fill in as many of the documents for you as possible, and we start doing this already end of July or in August. So anyone who said that they want to go with the round of September, or if you listen to this 6 months later, the round of March, we send you all the documents in advance. The sooner you can sign them off, the easier it is for us, because we tend to do a lot of these every round. And if everyone hands everything in on the 30th of September or the 30th of March, it would be very difficult for us. So try to do everything on time. And we only send you those things that we really can't fill in ourselves, like the power of attorney that you are allowing us to apply for your SLIM subsidy on your behalf. And like I said, any questions, any comments from the ministry, just pass them along to us and we will pick them up for you. And why would you do it with us? Why not with anyone else? Well, obviously you would do it with us because we've told you about this. But no, all joking aside, we have a vast experience in these SLIM coaching engagements. We've done dozens of them. We've been doing them for years. Not just the application, but the whole coaching engagement, and rounding off at the end with all the necessary paperwork, so you get the subsidies approved. We do the application for free. Now, why did I put an asterisk in there? We do it for free, obviously on condition that we are then your provider. We are your coaches, your trainers, your consultants. You don't do it with anyone else, you do it with us. That is in our terms and conditions. You're only stuck with us, obviously, if you get the approval. If you don't get the approval, if you get a bad lottery number and you don't get in, that's fine. We have very experienced coaches who are experienced in business on a national level and international level. And we have a lot of leadership and HR experts within the team. But we are not purely HR based. And why is that important? Because if you're purely HR based, if you're purely looking to motivate your team and develop your team without looking at the business objectives, they might not match. And it's really important that you have the right team, but for your business objectives, not the other way around. We have a great knowledge of other subsidies that you can use. We know free services from the local government, national government, how you can get help internationally. We have a great network, obviously, of other clients, former clients, other companies or contacts that might be useful for you. We are very pragmatic, so we don't tend to write very, very long reports or anything like that. The only reports that we tend to write are the ones that are necessary if the ministry come and ask for proof of the coaching engagement. Like I said, we are an award-winning agency, and what I have noticed is that other agencies tend to just write a proposal where you actually pay more of an own contribution. So the way we've set it up is that you pay very little or no contribution yourself. So that's completely within the rules of the SLIM subsidy, so we're not doing anything wrong there. But we do try to make it in a clever way so that you benefit optimally. So, any questions? No, it's all very
No.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're being very thorough so far and clear.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, in that case, I just wanted to leave those following the webinar later on through the recording with my contact details. I know it's been a quick run through, but what's most important is that you just understand when are the cut-offs in terms of, September and March. How does it work for the lottery? What do we do in terms of the paperwork? What's the mandatory parts of the process? What we have to do in any SLIM coaching engagement, and where we can be flexible and really look at your business and what is different in your business. So what we do is a combination of standard work, but also very much tailor-made work.